Bishop Head was, in many ways, he was a great man. But great men fail.
Bishop Edward Head was Buffalo's second longest serving bishop, and during his tenure, the problem of sexual abuse by priests first started spilling out into the open.
Happening tonight, the latest allegations against two priests from the Roman Catholic Diocese in Buffalo.
Father White wasn't suspended. Instead, he was transferred to another parish.
In the 1990s, Head downplayed the scope of the problem.
Our incidence of it happening here is below even the national lowest figures. So I thank God for that.
But dozens of internal documents obtained from the Chancery exclusively by 7 Eyewitness News show that Head and other bishops knew about the pedophile priests, shuffled them from parish to parish, and showed little concern for the victims of the abuse.
Seeing this stuff in writing for the first time, it's hard to read.
Steve Boyd is an attorney who represents victims of sexually abusive priests. In the 90s, he broke stories on abusive priests as a reporter for Eyewitness News. We asked him to comment on the documents we recently obtained.
It's really tough. It's a betrayal. It's an absolute betrayal.
We sifted through dozens of internal church records, and in 1989, documents show Head learned of abuse allegations against Father James Spielman at Saints Peter and Paul Church in Jamestown. But Spielman, who abused multiple boys in the Southern Tier, wrote the bishop saying he felt anger and betrayal at the thought of being removed from the church. "Never once did I minimize the seriousness of the issue," Spielman wrote, "yet over and over again you lectured me about its seriousness." 3 days later, the bishop apologized, writing to Spielman, "I have confidence in you. You have humbly admitted that personal behavioral mistakes have been made. You have served God's people for 19 years with dedication, enthusiasm, and effectiveness."
They were almost apologetic to him. Those are felonies. Every single time an adult abuses a child, whether they're a priest, a scoutmaster, a counselor, any time, that's a felony.
All was forgiven 6 months later when Spielman met with Head and Auxiliary Bishop Donald Troutman. They agreed the priest would attend a holistic program in Canada and return to ministry in the spring. But that apparently wasn't enough for Spielman. He wanted to go back to the same Jamestown parish where the altar boy had first accused him of abuse. To make his case, he points out the worsening clergy shortage and the fact that he raised $1.8 million in donations for the church. And this 1991 memo shows diocesan leaders were worried that if they didn't give in to Spielman's demands, he would be jealous of Father Donald Fafinski, another priest who was accused of abuse and put back into ministry. "I just wish to bring to the bishop's attention that Father Jim Spielman is carefully watching the placement of Father Donald Fafinski," wrote Father Peter Popadick, the bishop's secretary, to Bishop Head. "I gather the reason being, if Father Fafinski were to resume ministry at St. Joseph's in Fredonia, Father Spielman will be questioning why he was not allowed to return to St. Peter and Paul in Jamestown." In February 1993, the bishop relented, and Spielman got a second term at St. Peter and Paul. It would be 5 short months before another altar boy came forward with stories of abuse.
This handful of priests were a cancer, and like Bishop Head must have referenced to Father Spielman, like a tooth decay, like a cancer that needs to be cut out, and they needed to cut it out, and they could have cut it out, but they didn't.